Profiles on Nantucket Community Television, Channel 18. As most of you know, Channel 18 airs a lot of different shows, and in most cases, you get to know an awful lot about the guest, but not so much about the host. It's not always that way, but it's usually that way, and it's okay either way. Keeping that in mind, my guest today on the Profiles is my friend and my colleague, Bobby Planzer, who was the host of Bobbin Around Town, which you have probably seen on Channel 18. And if you have not seen it, you better tune in fast. Bobby, thank you for doing this.
Thank you very much, Charlie.
I want to talk about the show, obviously, but I want to go back to before the beginning, because sometime before you wanted to do the show, you knew you wanted to interview people. Tell us about that. How young were you when you knew you wanted to do that?
Ooh, I must have been probably maybe 15 or 16.
And how old are you now?
I'm 18.
Okay, so when you were 15, you knew.
Yeah.
And how did that come to be? Were you watching a lot of TV, or what spurred that idea in you?
Yeah. I would always watch the news every day before school, so I'd always watch Today's Show and things like that. And then my uncle came to town, and I thought, wow, why don't we start a show where we interview people just about them and about what they do. And we talked to Chris Winzicki, who was the station manager at the time.
Here at Channel 18.
Yeah, and Lisa Getter, and we started it, and then he passed away, and then Frank was the new person at Channel 18, and we went in for a meeting with Lisa Getter, and she said, you're gonna be, she said, Frank, do you wanna work at Bobby? And he said, sure. And we started working ever since.
Now, before you came to Channel 18, between the time you knew you wanted to interview and the time you came to Channel 18, I guess you had done no television before now?
No.
And
no.
had you done any non-television interviewing of people, either formally or informally?
No.
But you must be a good conversationalist, even when you're not on television. I'm guessing that.
Yeah, I like to talk to people, a lot of people.
Who came up with the name Bobbin Around Town?
Chris Winzicki did. I don't know how he did, but he did. We had a couple ideas. That was one of them. And then we had an idea of Bobbin Around the Cobble, which I don't know how that came about. And then we're just stuck with Bobbin Around Town.
Well, we do have a lot of cobbles, but they're more non-cobble streets than cobbles. So I think this was a better choice.
Yeah.
Now there's, I guess you'd call it a theme song.
Bobbin around town. Bobbin, 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 bobbin.
Who wrote the theme song and who performed it?
Laura Cunningham and her cousin Christine did it. We were out at Jetty's one night, and they just made it up on the spot, basically.
And Laura Cunningham, I believe, is married to Chris Winzicki, right?
Yes.
Now, your shows are not scripted, which is unlike what I'm doing with you right now. I have a list of questions here on the screen next to me. But you tend to shy away from scripting. Talk about that, because that's an interesting way of doing this.
Yeah. When I would watch shows, it's very much scripted. You know, there's producers and everybody telling everybody what to do. And I didn't want that. I didn't want a producer telling me, oh, say this, or you should do this, or, you know, let's do it better this way. I would not like that whatsoever. So I said, you know what, we're not gonna do it scripted. We're just gonna go for it.
Cookies and cream
Oh my God.
in a waffle cone.
Did you bring your date?
Yes, I did.
Did you give him any?
No, he gets his own.
Oh, come on over here. Come here. You. This is our assistant principal, Miss Sardellis.
I just had an ice cream cone,
Yeah? What flavor?
toffee crunch.
Did you say some for me?
No, I did not.
The rule is, as an assistant principal, is that you need to share ice cream with your students.
And how do you decide who your guests are?
Well, I normally talk to Frank and on the phone, and we decide kind of celebrity-ish kind of people, and we're gonna do a December show in a couple of weeks, which I'm excited about. I just kind of decide who I want to, interview, and we basically do Nantucket people. So,
Well, we're taping this on December 9th, but it won't be seen until January 2nd. So hopefully by the time this show airs, people will have seen your December show.
yes.
Now, how many shows have you done?
Ooh, I'd have to look back, but
Not an exact number, but just an approximate number will do.
probably about 5
Okay.
shows.
You tend to have more than one guest per show, right?
Yes.
And who are some of the people you've had?
Well, recently I've had Andrew Camardi, who's the station manager at Channel 18.
Yep.
I've had Maura Lavelle, who is she has her own practice with anxiety and depression. I've had Laura Gallagher Byrne, who is a well-known director on the island. She's an actress. Bill Keating, who you had on.
Our representative in Washington.
Yes, Bill Keating, who's pretty hilarious himself. I've had this guy, I don't know if you know him, his name's Charley Walters.
I've heard the name. And they did indeed have turkeys. There were wild turkeys, but they also ate venison. And they also ate lobsters and clams.
Yes.
I hear he was very appreciative of being on your show.
Yes.
Well, now you told me a story, or maybe it was your parents who told me a story. You were in the San Diego airport at some point in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And some guy you didn't know, never seen before, he knew exactly who you were. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was kind of odd. We don't normally go to California that much, but we were in San Diego for some trip. I don't know what it was. And two guys were yelling my name, and they're on that baggage cart thing. And then we just talked to them for a few minutes.
So they'd recognize you from your show?
I guess so, yeah.
Well, that's 3,000 miles away. I mean, that's, you're known coast to coast, Bobby.
Yes.
Often you do the exact opposite from what these fellows did. These fellows spotted you, said hello, struck up a conversation, but you've done the same thing, but with some household name sorts of people. Anderson Cooper, for example. Talk about how that happened.
So we were actually on a rooftop. One of my dad's friends used to work for Honeywell. And so every inauguration, since I can remember 2013, we were on a rooftop and CNN happened to be filming there. And
was this the 2013?
no, this was
happened?
2017.
Okay.
And I said hello and got a picture with him, and then he just left.
Well, did he seem surprised that somebody would just come up and start talking to him?
He did seem a little surprised, yeah.
Because most people wouldn't dare do that.
No.
But you did, and it's
Yeah.
not the first time you've done that sort of thing. Is it always spur of the moment, or had you anticipated this?
I think it is on the moment. I've also met Brett Baer from Fox News,
Uh-huh.
and he was a pretty interesting guy. I like to watch his show some nights, and he was a very nice guy.
Now, one of your good friends is Meghan Trainor. How did you meet Meghan?
So we were on a Jetty's Beach one night when she was not so popular.
Before she was well known.
Yeah. And would see her perform, and then she'd go to writing conventions, and her mom and dad owned a jewelry store on the island, and she made the video all about the base, talking about women and things like that, and she won awards for it, and she's been featured on Ellen and all these types of talk shows.
So there's a story that you got up on stage with her somewhere. First of all, where did that happen?
That happened in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
And this was after she had put out All About the Bass.
Yes.
This is Bobby. Bobby's been coming to my show since I was 17 years old on Nantucket Island. Let's go, Bobby. Ready?
How did you happen to be in Allentown, and how did you happen to get up on the stage with somebody as big as Meghan Trainor?
We went to Allentown for a tour concert that she was doing, and she had no idea I was coming, and we planned a surprise, and we were sitting down, and her mother came over and said, "Hey, Meghan wants you to dance on stage." So I was like, "Okay, this hasn't been rehearsed or anything." And I was like, "Okay." And so, yeah, we finally did that, and that was pretty cool.
Now, that would have terrified a lot of people, but my sense is that it was just another day for you in some ways. You just walked up and did it.
Yeah.
Now, because this was after she'd put out her big song, her first song, there must have been an awful lot of people in that audience. I mean, there were, what, thousands of people probably?
Yeah.
And how did it feel to be up on a stage in front of all those people doing something that you weren't accustomed to doing? Did you get what they call stage fright?
No, I don't get stage fright. It was very cool. Doing it on stage, you can't really, the audience can hear everything, but when you're on stage, you really can't hear much. You can't really hear the artists doing their thing. It's kind of like it's kind of silenced, just kind of awkward. Yeah.
What could you hear when you were on the stage? You weren't hearing the whole band, but what were you hearing?
I was hearing the whole band, but I didn't really hear the singer. I heard the audience and kind of the dancers doing their thing.
Could you see anything, or were there lights shining in your eyes?
There was lights. I could see a few audience members, but not very much.
Well, you like to be in public, obviously. You do your show.
Mm-hmm.
You've appeared on stage with Meghan Trainor in front of thousands of people performing live. Did you know when you were very little you were going to be doing this sort of thing, and being in public with no stage fright, no fear?
No, not really. I'm just like any normal teen, I guess. I didn't know any of this would be possible.
And yet it seems to have come naturally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You didn't know it was going to happen. It's come to you very naturally.
Yes.
That's a great talent to have. I think all of us wish we had that kind of gumption or whatever.
Yes.
To get up there on a stage, and feel as if you're just walking down the street.
Yeah.
Now, talking about someone else. It's a hard act to follow after talking about what you did with Meghan Trainor. But aside from Anderson Cooper and Meghan Trainor, what well-known people or celebrities have you run into either on your show or off your show?
Kellyanne Conway I ran into.
Was that on Nantucket?
That was on Nantucket at the airport. She was traveling somewhere with her. It was her 2 kids, and some other lady. And we just struck up a conversation.
Well, it sounds like you struck up the conversation.
Yes.
You started it.
Yes.
But she was happy to talk to you?
Yes, very happy. A little nervous at the beginning, but.
And you, of course, you weren't nervous at all. So you would think it would be just the opposite, right? But it wasn't. And who else have you seen?
Lots of them. Many of them from Today's Show. So Hoda Kotb, Savannah Guthrie, Al Roker, all of those people.
That's a lot of people.
Yes.
And you're only 18.
Yeah.
You're sitting at home right now, but you're not on Nantucket. Tell us where you are.
I'm in Fort Worth, Texas, here. My brother's going to college here.
Now, your brother is a twin brother, isn't he? I've never met your brother, but he is your twin.
Yes.
Okay. And you're in Fort Worth. You're off Nantucket. Why?
So we decided to come to Fort Worth because of the pandemic. And everything was shut down in Nantucket, and my brother was going to college here. So we said, why don't we just come down?
And how long ago was this?
So we came here in, I think, June. Yeah, April.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in spite of the fact that you're living in Fort Worth, you are still going to school on Nantucket.
Yes.
What's that like?
It's all right. 11th grade is tough, and they said it's stressful, which is, it very is. It's a little bit difficult, but I like seeing my friends on video chat and, things.
Well, it must be strange seeing everybody virtually, but you're never going to see them for a while.
Yeah.
And when the school day is over, you're not going to run into them in Stop and Shop or something like that.
Yeah.
How much of an adjustment was that for you?
Ooh, I've never done anything like this. Ever. I thought nothing like this was gonna be possible, and then obviously it started in China, and I thought it wasn't gonna come to the States. I thought China was gonna stop this pandemic from happening, but they didn't. So.
But when things get back to sort of normal, you will come back to Nantucket.
Yes.
And due to the miracles of technology, even though you're a couple of thousand miles away, you can still put together, or you did put together your December show.
Yes.
In spite of that. So it's, it's weird to think about, isn't it? That you could be in Australia or someplace and you could still put your show together.
Yes.
But here I am, I'm on Nantucket, and I'm talking to you as if you were in the next room, which in a way you are.
Yes.
Now you haven't lived on Nantucket for that long. Where did you live before then?
So I basically lived in DC for a couple of years, and my mom worked for the FAA at the beginning, and so did my dad. And then my dad moved to be the vice president of Bobbin. And then, yes, and that started when I was 1. So I was very little when that happened. And then my dad retired from Boeing and decided to start a consulting business.
Now, when he was vice president at Boeing, did you have to leave Washington at that point?
No, we normally stayed in Boston, in DC, and occasionally I would go down and visit him at his office.
Why Nantucket and not any other place? Why was that the place your family decided to move to?
Well, I was going to a school in Maryland, but there's a special needs school. Not my favorite school. I didn't like it there. And I'd occasionally ride the bus, which it would be late because of traffic. So school would end at 3, and I wouldn't get home until 7.
Wow,
And yeah, and
that's awful.
yeah, my mother would be making dinner at the time, and we just thought that we needed a better education. And so we decided, we were summer residents on Nantucket, and so we just thought, why don't we move there full time?
And it sounds as though you didn't give any thought to going to a Fort Worth school. You'd had good luck on Nantucket. You wanted to stick with Nantucket no matter where you were.
Yes.
When you were very young, you had some tough times.
Hmm.
Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So I was basically born unable to eat, speak, and breathe on my own. I had a brain hemorrhage. My lungs weren't good. My voice wasn't good. Yeah, it was tough, but all the nurses and the doctors at Georgetown basically, stepped up, and they continued to do that in the NICU.
And talking about NICU, Bobby, your NICU had a reunion a few years ago, and you gave a speech there. And we have a clip of you speaking from that reunion.
My name is Bobby Planzer, and my brother Preston and I were born at Georgetown on February 19, 2002. We were born at 26 weeks or 14 weeks early. My parents say that even though I could not eat, talk, or breathe on my own until I was 4 years old, I had made up for the lost time. They also hope that the NICU team can see me and Preston as your success story. Thank you.
So it's tough. And I was watching a year ago, it was this year. It was the State of the Union, and a mother and her daughter were in the audience, and her daughter was basically born in the NICU.
Born at just 21 weeks and 6 days and weighing less than a pound, Ellie Schneider was a born fighter. Today, Ellie is a strong, healthy 2-year-old girl sitting with her amazing mother, Robin. In the gallery, Ellie and Robin, we are glad to have you with us tonight.
And just hearing that story, it was tough, very tough.
How much could you relate to that yourself?
A lot.
I mean, that when you say it was tough for you to listen to it,
Yes.
having some idea from your personal experience what it must have been like.
Yes.
What sorts of things did they have to do so that you could get food into your system?
Well, they put a G-tube in me. A lot of people don't know what that is. It's basically a little tube that goes into my stomach, and there's a long tube that goes on it, and so that makes you able to pour drinks and things into it. And so what they would do is they'd put food in a blender, and they would put it down in a little hole thing. So I thought that was interesting.
Now, how long did they have to do that for you?
Ooh, a long time. Ooh, maybe, I'm not too sure exactly, but I know a very long time.
Do you have memories of them doing that? Or was it happening when you were too young?
A little. Not very much memories.
And you also had at least one tracheotomy. Do I have that correct?
Yes, I did have a trach at one point. I don't remember it at all, but I did have a trach that went around my neck.
And again, as with the eating, the feeding, you were too young to remember all
Yeah,
this.
too young to remember.
What other things were going on aside from those two procedures that that you had to go through?
I had to have a lot of surgeries when I was little. I only remember 3 of them. The first one was I had to have a stomach surgery. So they took the G-tube out, and we thought it would heal. And we were on Nantucket at the time, and apparently it didn't. So they had to fix it, and I was in the hospital for a couple days, and then I had eye surgery. One eye of mine goes this way, and the other goes straight. So we were trying to fix this eye from going that way. We were trying to make it go straight, which was a bit unsuccessful, which I was not happy about. I still am not happy about it, but hopefully they come out with new things that could make it go straight. And if they do, I'll be willing to get it. But
Well, that's interesting because it's not readily apparent. It's not obvious.
right,
If you think about it and look carefully, then you can notice a little bit, but it's not something that, walking down the street, people are going to notice.
right,
So you've gone through a lot.
yes.
Do you think about it a lot, or is it just part of your life at this point that you don't harp on it?
Basically part of my life. I don't really think about it that much. Yeah.
But as far as your feeding and the tracheotomies, those are all behind you. You won't have to have any more of those.
Right.
I hear you play the drums, or
Yeah.
a drum. Maybe I should say a drum. Which is the proper
Adrian, probably.
a drum? Tell us about that drum.
Yeah. It's called a cajon, and it's basically a drum that you sit on, and then you can just bang it. I saw Laura Cunningham's cousin Christine play it, and I thought, wow, that's pretty interesting. I wanna get something like that. So we were actually in DC at the time, and my mother and I went to Guitar Center, and we got it.
And do you play it with your hands or with sticks, or
You play
Or
with
what?
your hands.
just your hands?
Yeah.
You never play it with a stick or with sticks?
No.
How loud is it? It's been said that every parent's nightmare is having a drum kit in the house.
Yes.
But obviously your parents have adjusted to it because they're still doing it.
Yeah, actually, one year for, I think it was Christmas, I asked for a drum set, and my parents said no. I can't understand why.
Well, I get it.
Yes.
Another thing you've done, and I think this is the first time I was aware of you, because it was before your television show, I believe, a town meeting. Tell us what you do there and how that came to be.
So I'm the bell ringer. So people at town meeting are have to speak to a certain time. It's basically 5 minutes or 1 minute. And I normally ring the bell when the time goes off. And sometimes they stop speaking and sometimes they do not. So I'll ring the bell, and then it's Sarah Aldridge's job to kind of quiet them down.
She's the town moderator.
Yes, she's the town moderator. She's good at what she does. But when I actually turned 18, I kind of thought about running for that position, but my parents are like, yeah, if you run, you're not gonna win. She's gonna beat you. So I thought,
Well, she's done it for a long time,
he has.
but you've got a long life ahead of you. So maybe someday you will do it.
Maybe.
Now, did she herself approach you about this? Was this her idea?
I called her and she said, I'm looking for someone that could ring the bell. So I thought, oh, I wanna do that job. And we met up, and it kind of happened.
Does somebody tell you when to do it, or are you the one looking at the clock?
So there's a screen, there's a computer screen in front of me, and it's counting down. So
you do it on your own?
Yes.
No one is there cueing you to do it. You're totally responsible for it yourself.
Yes.
Well, that's a big job.
It is.
I mean, if you do it too soon or too late, you're in big trouble.
Yeah.
But I've never seen that happen.
No.
In the time we have left, I want you to tell us what you see yourself doing over the next few years, or even longer than that, because it seems to me that at age 18, you've accomplished quite a bit already. And yet you have your whole life ahead of you too. So what do you have in mind to do over the next few years?
Yeah. I know I want to graduate high school. And I've told my parents that I am thinking in 2026 to run for governor of the state. So I probably want to do that if Charlie's not going to run. I want to kind of run and
That's Charlie Baker, not me.
Yes, Charlie Baker.
So you want to go into politics?
Yes.
Is it too soon to be thinking about where you want to go to college?
No, I'm not thinking about going to college. Not
Really?
so much. Yeah.
So what would you do once you're out of high school? The day after you graduate from high school, what do you see yourself doing?
I would keep my summer job. I am the ambassador of the radio station, 97.7 ACKFM.
Mm-hmm.
And I like doing that job. I hand cards out to different businesses. So I would see myself doing that job and then probably getting another one.
What do these cards say on them?
They basically tell people to listen to them on an app. They have an app on the App Store, and they want people to listen more people to listen.
And where do you do this? Do you stand in one spot or do you move around town?
I move around a bit, so I've done it at Cisco Brewery and then other businesses around town.
Well, you're a natural for this too, because you like to talk to people.
Yes.
So I'm not surprised you enjoy that so much.
Yeah.
If you weren't going to be, if you didn't become governor,
Mm-hmm.
what can you see yourself doing?
Ooh, probably going to college, maybe. I know that later on, I do maybe want to run for president or something like that. I've always thought about that a little bit.
Do you like history in school?
A little, yeah.
Because that sort of goes with being a politician and watching the sorts of things you watch on television.
Yeah.
And if you're watching those news shows or the Today Show, you're seeing an awful lot of politicians or government administrators getting interviewed. So there is a common thread running through all sorts of things you've been talking about today.
Yes.
Well, Bobby, the next time I see you, I hope I'm really seeing you and just not just seeing an image on a TV screen, but with the luck that'll be, I don't know, maybe by next summer. But I appreciate your coming on today. This has been a lot of fun for me. I hope for you as well. And the next time people watch Bobbin Around Town, they'll know a little bit more about you to start with.
Yes. Thank you, Charlie.
Enjoy the rest of your winter. And as I say, we'll look forward to seeing you sometime in 2021.
Of course. You too.
For Profiles on Nantucket Community Television's Channel 18, I'm Charley Walters. My guest has been Bobby Planzer, host of Bobbin Around Town. Thanks for tuning in. Please tune in again.